Before we dive into this suspenseful story, drop a comment with your city so we can see how far it reaches. And if you enjoy the video, don't forget to subscribe my channel.
She was powerful, untouchable, and adored in her world of gleaming office towers and high-stakes deals. Vanessa Caldwell, the CEO who built her empire on wit and willpower, carried herself like no one could question her. But arrogance has a way of spilling over into cruelty. And that night in the garage, it did. She smirked, her voice sharp enough to cut through the air, mocking the man standing before her. "Fix this engine," she said with a laugh that dripped with disdain, "and I'll marry you." The words were meant as a joke, a dagger wrapped in amusement. But what she didn't know was that Jamal Rivers was no ordinary man. In that moment, the air shifted, and so did the course of both their lives. What happens when a challenge meant to humiliate sparks something far deeper? Truth, resilience, and an unexpected reckoning. This is where the story begins, and once you hear it, you'll never forget it. Jamal Rivers was a man who lived with quiet dignity. A mechanic by trade, he spent his days surrounded by grease, steel, and the hum of engines, but his nights were filled with something far greater: the pride of providing for his family, the joy of teaching his younger brother the trade, and the small but powerful satisfaction of knowing he was good, very good, at what he did. He didn't wear suits or own skyscrapers, but he carried an honesty that no wealth could buy. In his small workshop, with its cracked floor and flickering lights, he rebuilt lives one car at a time, because to him, fixing an engine wasn't just about bolts and pistons. It was about trust. It was about proving that even in a world quick to overlook men like him, he could hold his own. Yet life has a way of throwing storms into calm waters. On that Friday evening, Jamal had only meant to finish his last job, close up shop, and head home. But as fate would have it, Vanessa Caldwell, with her sleek car and sharper tongue, would turn an ordinary night into something unforgettable. What started as a routine call for help was about to unravel into a moment where pride clashed with prejudice, and where Jamal's skills and dignity would be tested in ways he never imagined. The garage lights flickered as Vanessa stepped out, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. She looked at Jamal not with gratitude but with suspicion, her arms folded like she was evaluating not his skill, but his worth. Her words were clipped, dismissive, carrying that subtle sting of superiority that too many had thrown at him before. The challenge rolled off her tongue with laughter meant to cut him down. "Fix this engine, and I'll marry you." Around her, a few others chuckled, their eyes narrowing as though waiting for Jamal to fail, waiting for confirmation of the assumptions they already held. Jamal stood silent, his hands steady even as his mind raced. This wasn't just about fixing a car anymore. Every stare, every whispered laugh piled on his shoulders like invisible weights, daring him to crumble. The night grew heavier as more people lingered near the garage door, their presence amplifying the unease. Every second stretched like a blade's edge. One wrong move, one slip of the hand, and his dignity would be torn apart. Yet Jamal's focus sharpened. He rolled up, his sleeves not just to touch the car, but to confront the judgment in the air. With each tool he picked up, the weight of history pressed against him. The quiet battles fought by countless others, the need to prove competence in spaces where doubt came first and respect second. And as Vanessa's eyes bore into him, the room thick with tension, Jamal realized the absurdity and the danger of it all. He was being forced to prove his humanity through the turn of a wrench. The air in the garage was electric, charged with both tension and disbelief. Sweat trickled down Jamal's temple as his hands moved swiftly, expertly, over the engine. Every turn of the wrench, every adjustment of the gears echoed louder than the laughter that had started to fade into uneasy silence. The smirks began to waver as the engine slowly came alive under his touch. Vanessa's confident stance faltered, her arms uncrossing as her eyes widened with something she hadn't expected. Respect, or perhaps fear of being proven wrong. The room seemed to shrink, pulling every gaze toward Jamal, who worked not with anger, but with precision born from years of skill no prejudice could erase. The engine roared to life, its sound cutting through the room like thunder. For a moment, time froze. Vanessa's smirk disappeared, replaced with stunned silence. Jamal stood tall, his chest rising and falling with both exhaustion and triumph. But the weight of the moment was more than just a mechanical victory. It was a confrontation between dignity and disdain, between truth and assumption. In that instant, the roles reversed. The laughter was gone, the judgment shattered, and the mockery silenced. Yet beneath the triumph, Jamal felt the sting of reality. It had taken all of this just to be seen, just to be acknowledged. And as the engine's roar faded, so did the thin veil hiding the deeper truth. That respect given reluctantly is not the same as respect deserved. Would this victory last beyond tonight, or would it vanish as quickly as the laughter that had mocked him? The garage finally quieted, leaving Jamal Rivers alone with the residual hum of the engine and the echo of tension that had filled the room. Relief washed over him, but it was tempered by a lingering awareness. The battle had been as much against prejudice as against mechanical failure. Vanessa Caldwell had stepped back, her expression softened, but the unspoken truth remained. Acknowledgement, when filtered through bias, is never complete, never immediate. Jamal felt the weight of every glance, every whispered assumption, and understood that this moment, though victorious, carried lessons that would stay with him far beyond the confines of the garage walls. Packing his tools with deliberate care, he reflected on what had transpired. Skill alone had been enough to fix the engine, but not enough to immediately secure recognition or dissolve doubt. Even in success, he had navigated a gauntlet of expectations, assumptions, and subtle judgments, all because of who he was. The emotional toll was real, adrenaline spent, frustration simmering beneath the surface, and yet a profound clarity emerged. His talent was undeniable, his effort uncompromised, and his dignity intact. But the truth about systemic bias and the persistent need to prove oneself lingered heavily in the air. As he closed the hood and wiped sweat from his brow, Jamal realized this was not merely a personal story. It was emblematic of countless experiences where individuals are forced to overperform, over-explain, and overprove their worth to be treated as competent human beings. The victory in the garage was real, yes, but it was also a reminder that justice, respect, and acknowledgement are not evenly distributed. They must be claimed, defended, and sometimes demanded with courage and persistence. Stepping back, Jamal's eyes met Vanessa's one final time. The smirk of mockery had vanished, replaced by hesitant respect. However, he knew the moment could fade into casual dismissal, yet he also understood that his presence, his calm assertion of competence, had silently sent a message far beyond that room. That assumptions can be challenged, that excellence can confront bias, and that dignity cannot be erased, even when it is questioned. The emotional resonance of that realization settled deep into him. Triumph mixed with the awareness of ongoing struggle, personal vindication shadowed by societal inertia. Returning home later that evening, the story of the garage replayed in his mind, not as a singular incident, but as a reflection of systemic patterns where ordinary lives are repeatedly interrupted by prejudice. He thought of those who could not afford the confidence, the expertise, or the opportunity to assert themselves in the face of injustice. How many capable, deserving people are denied recognition, advancement, or safety simply because of the color of their skin? Jamal's victory, though tangible, was a microcosm of a larger struggle. This struggle continues every day in workplaces, schools, neighborhoods, and homes. The night ended quietly, yet the questions it raised lingered. How many others had faced ridicule, doubt, or barriers that talent alone could not overcome. How often does society underestimate, misjudge, or mock, leaving potential unrealized and confidence shaken? Jamal's experience was personal, but it was also universal, a testament to the ongoing fight against bias, a call to recognize subtle injustices, and a reminder that courage, skill, and persistence can illuminate truth, even in a world quick to doubt. The story of Jamal Rivers and Vanessa Caldwell's garage confrontation stands as both a victory and a challenge. To acknowledge assumptions, confront prejudice, and ensure that talent and humanity are seen and respected, regardless of who you are. The question remains, echoing beyond the walls of that garage: how many more times will someone's worth be questioned before the world truly begins to see